क्योंकि हमें तो नेचुरली करप्ट पार्टी बोला गया था, फिर उनके ही पार्टी
जनता आपको करप्ट मानती है, तभी विपक्ष में बैठे हो यार।
Do you have anything to add without getting political?
Okay. I think one issue that I feel that young people are not paying a lot of attention to this issue is vote chori.
I just want to ask, is she trying to indicate that what happened in Nepal should happen in the country?
So let me ask you simple yes or no, okay? This is your weakness.
I didn't know that we were going to have a 9 p.m. debate at 10 a.m. So I was like,
Hi Gurmehar, hi Pradeep. Thank you so much for being with us today, this morning. I was telling them before you came in that the job of young people is to hold politicians accountable. So if Anish is late, then we should start regardless because their time is also important. So that's context. We don't have to be mean to Anish when he comes in, but if you want to, then we can. So before he gets in, wanted to ask the two of you, how are you doing?
Well, Kevin, I've been great. Bombay is amazing. The weather's lovely. And yeah, Diwali is coming. Delhi is looking nicer before the pollution hits. But yeah, it's been great.
You just subtly looked over to Pradeep because now it is BJP Sarkar also
It
in
is,
Delhi.
isn't it? So what are the plans?
Yeah.
That is why you see that Delhi has recorded the least amount of air pollution in the last 8 years. And not just Delhi, all 15 Indian cities. So yeah, I like the expectation that you guys have from us. We will deliver, don't worry.
I love it. I want to give some context, and Pradeep, this is a little bit cheeky, but I want to. That when we were putting this panel together, we reached out to Pradeep, and he very honestly asked me that, are you more left-leaning or right-leaning? So I said, I'm centrist. And then he said, by that you mean you're left-leaning, right? And then I said, well, traditionally, maybe. And then he asked me he said, look, I'll come, I'm happy to do it, but I don't want to be the right-wing punching bag. So I promised him that he will not be that right-wing punching bag. I think it's very important to include the ruling party in these conversations as well, because otherwise it would just be a bunch of us agreeing with each other,
100%.
with it going nowhere. So just want to say, oh, Anish, please come on stage.
I was
You
just
can
saying
clap.
we must include the ruling
Anish
party,
Gawande-
include the opposition also. Na, sir.
I was not going to introduce him as India's Zoran Mamdani, but just because he's come late, India's Zoran Mamdani, can we have a huge round of applause for Anish
Hello
Gawande?
everyone, sorry for being late.
Awesome.
I had SV luck,
What?
which is on SV road when you hit every single
Where were
signal, which
you?
all of you.
People want to know where were you?
That now you'll have to find
Because you
out.
took an early flight. Where were you?
I took an earlier flight to go to Matoshi. And not the kind you're thinking of, but to my
it won't
poor
work.
mother's house. Yeah, I went to see my
Okay.
mother.
I feel like I should set some rules for the panelists also, now that we've
No
given.
interrupting
Look,
each other.
yeah, I mean, ideally, look, it's not a TV debate. I used to be a TV journalist. I'm not anymore. I'm very out of practice. I have the same birthday as Arnab Goswami. If my inner Arnab comes out at some point, we'll deal with it. But I'm hoping that we don't have to, right? So can we be civil, respectful? You're not raising your hand, or you're pouring water, then it's fine. Okay, first question. Now we're officially starting, guys. First question I wanted to ask all of you, one by one, and Anish, we can start with you. We'll go this way. What is one issue that you think young people don't care enough about right now? A political issue that you think young people don't care about as much as they should? And what, conversely, is a youth issue that you think politicians don't care about enough right now?
It's a very tricky question to start off with, but I think the biggest challenge right now is that as young people, we're so sensitized to national politics, we're so sensitized to state politics, but the one kind of politics that we remain completely detached from is municipal level politics. And the real challenge today is that as someone who's grown up in Mumbai and seen various governments change and the state of the city remain untouched, unless we get accountable elected corporators who are responsible at the lowest rung of governance, the highest rung of governance is irrelevant, right? And so I think the biggest challenge currently is that all of you need to vote for the BMC elections as much as you vote for the national elections or the state elections, and vote for a good candidate, right? That's where, at that level, the party honestly matters less than even the candidate, and to really get into the brass tacks of governance and see who's going to be able to deliver. And one thing that politicians don't care about that young people care about, there's a long laundry list. Where should I start?
Pick one.
Pick one. I think genuinely public transport is something that we've discounted as something that is a non-young person issue, right? And so it's always been relegated to a middle-aged working class. But as you're discovering new ways of working, you also have to discover new ways of public transport, right? what happens to public transport for people who are working from home? They don't necessarily only need public transport to go to work. They also need public transport to go to places of leisure. So why aren't our cultural centers now not accessible by public transport, even though BKC is, and your sort of commercial centers are? So how do you rewire this idea of public transport only serving a work commute rather than a leisure commute, which is what a lot of people are also doing nowadays?
It's spoken truly like a man who got stuck in Bombay traffic on a Saturday morning. So appreciate that. Pradeep?
Well, if you ask me honestly, that one thing that the youth of India should care more about and be aware more about is that there is life beyond the 30-second Instagram reel too, and that is exactly not what Bharat is. So I believe that the young travel less, and they should, if they want to explore and build an understanding of political opinion in this country, they should travel across the country and gain a lot of original knowledge, know about their culture, experience things, make mistakes, take risks, and build an original point of view of looking at the country, of judging politicians. I believe that today the attention span of the young generation, particularly the Gen Z, is limited to 30 seconds to 45 seconds. And that is a concern for me because they've stopped going into in depth of various issues. So that is number one. Number two, if you believe that one thing which politicians should do more is have more youth representation in polity. So we've been speaking about it, and all political parties speak about it, but you need more youth in decision-making roles. It is slowly and gradually happening, but I would believe that political parties should put more towards that. Because if you see the voting percentage of the youth, India is the only democracy where the youth voting percentage is increasing exponentially at a very fast rate, even in a national election and a state election. Definitely less in a local election. So I would believe that political parties give more youth representation. That is what we can do from our side.
Oh, thank you. Good answers, and I have a follow-up which I'll come to once we hear from Gurmehar.
Well, I think one issue that I feel that young people are not paying a lot of attention to, and there has to be more attention to this issue, is vote chori. And I know we started off by saying we're not going to get too deeply political, but it is a political panel. We have seen, and I would agree with Pradeep on this bit, that there is we pay a lot of attention to 30-second reels. What we've seen is that, of course, this issue has been raised about your votes being stolen, your names being taken out of your electoral rolls. There's one constituency in Bangalore Central that Rahul Gandhi has raised, and there's a discrepancy of 1 lakh votes that have just been added and removed, right? We can all have the greatest conversation about movements, how can young people be involved in politics, can young people make it to the parliament, what happens in mass protests, how do you mobilize these people, how do you mobilize civil society groups, but all of this conversation falls flat when you cannot trust your electoral democracy, when you cannot trust your electoral process. So I think one issue that we really need to raise beyond the 30-second reel and beyond the great memes that have been coming out from all spaces is that there needs to be a ground movement. There has to be this conversation about preserving your own votes, the only right we've got. Beyond that, we can yell and shout. There's nothing much we can do about it. So we should, as young people, have on-ground movements, collaborate, meet other organizations, build conversations within your schools, and have a chat about this and raise it up. And I think one issue that I feel that politicians aren't listening to will just be employment. Think about it, how many of us, I mean, including myself, right? I'm a young person, I'm in the workforce. We're having to deal with terrible working conditions, conditions that we cannot get out of because we don't know if there's going to be a job tomorrow. When you look our data on paper, the Indian collective unemployment rate is like 5 to 6%. But when you look at the unemployment rate for younger people, it's around 15 to 16%. But when you look at unemployment rate for urban younger people, that's 18%, which makes it 1 out of 5 people. 1 out of 5 young people in urban spaces do not have a job, are looking for a job. They want to do it, but there's just no opportunity. So I think those are issues that politicians should really focus on.
Pradeep, first you pulled out paper and pen, okay, and you made notes. Then you pulled out one phone. Then you pulled out second phone. So we'll come to you. But before we get into vote chori, and I had a running bet with some people at Yuvaa as to how long that would take to come up. I want to contextualize, and I want to set actually some disclaimers before we get into it, if that's okay. So I've done research. I actually saw a lot of the stuff that all of you have kind of put out around vote chori. And I'm okay with us having that discussion here as long as we try to fix the underlying problem. Because from what I hear, when Pradeep has also represented the BJP or been the spokesperson and talked about it, sometimes there's finger pointing to say that Congress has also done it in these constituencies and we have proof. I want to attack it from the most important perspective, which is that of young people, that if young people are going to lose faith that their basic electoral machinery works, regardless of which party is in power, regardless of which party is in. So, good rule of thumb, if you said it on TV, you don't need to say it to me because I've watched it. Let's keep it nuanced. And let me add global context to it. Let's get into, the title of this panel is Discord Democracy. It was based on what we saw in Nepal with the Gen Z protests. There was clearly a feeling there that the elected representatives were not doing a good enough job by young people. That's been the narrative that's out there. So let's use that as kind of a context and say, if young people are fundamentally losing faith that the electoral machinery works, what is the solution that we need to come up with? Good rules of engagement?
Works for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good? Yeah.
Well, honestly, Kevin, the only person who's politically unemployed in this country is Rahul Gandhi. And don't take Rahul Gandhi seriously because he believes that a car weighs 3,000 kg. Okay. I want to ask the young people out here. Rahul has said that a car weighs 3,000 kg. Can any of you, including Anish, tell me a car whose weight is 3,000 kg?
Okay, we'll do backstage. And
so, just a point because she spoke about. The intention of the Congress party is exactly to create a democratic deficit in this country. They want a situation where people come on streets and challenge the constitutional framework. Now, the young have represented and spoken about they have a faith in the Indian democracy. That is why you're seeing them coming out repeatedly and voting more and more. In the recently concluded student body polls, whether it is in Punjab, Delhi, you've seen the young people voting and giving and expressing their opinion. Now, my charge here is the following. The Congress party, and in fact, you've spoken that what if the youth do not have faith in Indian democracy? Now, what is the best parameter to judge it? The best parameter to judge an electoral democracy is that if you believe in the Constitution of India, is through voting. That is the legitimate right or peaceful protest. The Constitution of India does not give you the privileged authority to create anarchy. And if the Congress wants that, then I believe that this is the most dangerous part for Indian democracy. Okay, just allow me to complete. All of you are young out here. Please go and check on Google, check on Instagram, check on any AI tool. Has the Congress party any of its claim on vote chori or any allegation that the Congress has made in the last 11 years? And I ask you, Kevin, and I would personally clap for the Congress on the stage, has stood merit on the Supreme Court of India. Do you believe in the Supreme Court? I'm asking, you believe, right? Do we believe in the Supreme Court here? Yes. So please go and check that has the Congress party officially gone to the Supreme Court? Has the Supreme Court officially said that a vote is stolen? Nobody has said that. The issue is that Rahul Gandhi believes, and this is a very serious thing, that he cannot democratically win an election. And democratically, if he cannot win an election, he wants to create a democratic deficit by getting people to create a distrust in democracy. If he believes vote chori is I want to know a concept for you.
Yeah.
How is it that when Rahul Gandhi wins from a constituency and he's a member of parliament, how does vote chori do not happen there?
No,
Has Rahul resigned from it?
On this point, so Pradeep, I paused and I respected when you were speaking.
No, just 10 seconds.
No, I'm sorry. I said, I'm born on the same day as Arnab Goswami. I have given you that one.
You can be any journalist.
No.
You can be any journalist. It doesn't matter to me.
That's
what
not.
I'm trying to tell you.
Pradeep, let me ask you this. I'll give you a follow-up only. Okay, let me ask you this and you answer this specifically. When you've appeared on TV before also, you've pointed out that there are some Congress leaders who have multiple EPIC numbers. You have said this. You have, one second. You have, you answer me. Pradeep, I feel like with former journalists, this is a problem.
that the इनमें से कोई भी allegation Supreme Court of India
नहीं हुआ है sir. I'm accepting. लेकिन मैं
Supreme Court में अगर allegation सही भी उसके बाद नहीं मान रहा है तो उसकी मंशा क्या है?
If you are coming on national TV and saying that this is a problem that has happened if any of your points is that Congress is also doing this, other parties are also doing it. But you have said it, sir.
I am saying it, sir, that Congress party is lying. You prove me how it is honest.
Okay.
Which constitutional authority has said that what Rahul Gandhi is saying is true?
No,
Okay,
but-
I tell you, give me one example that what Rahul has said, any constitutional authority has said it is
Okay,
true.
we are done
You
with
answer me that
the
as a former
vote chori
journalist.
segment of this discussion, because it's impossible. Okay.
How is it impossible, Kevin? I am speaking true. You counter me with facts. She spoke about Mahadevpura. Congress party won the constituency.
I knew the phone would come out
If
at
the
some point.
Congress party wins the constituency and still
Okay.
they say कि भाई
Okay,
vote चोरी
okay,
होगी तो
okay.
resign कर दो parliament से.
Pradeep, okay.
प्रियंका वाड्रा को बोल दो resign कर
We
दे. राहुल जी को
understand.
बोल दो resign कर दे. झूठ को आप कुशन करके नहीं कर सकते ना
Sir,
Kevin.
झूठ की बात. Okay.
क्या अच्छा चलिए बताइए मैं आपसे माफी मांगूंगा मैंने अभी तक जो बोला उसमें से झूठ क्या है
Sir, झूठ की बात नहीं है. I
झूठ
spent
तो democracy तो सत्य पे ही आधारित होती है,
2.5
तो सत्य की
minutes.
लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं.
I really should have practiced more for this. I spent 2.5 minutes giving context that I don't want to address this from a political party POV. So let me ask you a simple yes or no. Okay, this is your weakness. Everybody's weakness who goes on TV. Yes
not
or no
my
question.
weakness, this is my
Yeah,
strength.
okay, yes or no question. Do you believe that our electoral machinery is functioning perfectly?
Absolutely yes.
Okay, so then
Absolutely
fine.
yes.
Let's
You-
move to someone who doesn't have that same assumption. अभी काफी time.
नहीं assumption नहीं है नहीं मैं आपसे आप मेरे को factually
Okay,
देखो,
belief, same
एक
belief.
second, रुकिए. मेरा
Sir,
assumption
आप-
नहीं है नहीं मैं आप पे disagree करूँगा. कौन सी सुप्रीम कोर्ट या कौन सी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अथॉरिटी ने बोला है कि नहीं अच्छे से काम करी नाम बताओ.
Okay, fair. Anish,
आप
with the,
बताइए.
नहीं, you win. You don't have to apologize to me,
I-
but we do have to move
I
on.
appreciate this clarity coming from Pradeep, and I really hope that the next time the Prime Minister makes corruption allegations, those will also only be made publicly once they're proven the Supreme Court. क्योंकि हमें तो naturally corrupt party बोला गया था, फिर उनके ही party में
जनता
शुरू हो
आपको
गए.
करप्ट मानती है
So-
तभी
Okay,
विपक्ष
okay.
में बैठे हो
I'm
यार.
saying no, I believe in that standard.
Can
I
we-
don't call anybody corrupt. I am the first person to say nobody is corrupt. I raise
would-
no allegation. Supreme Court को पहले बोलने दो.
I would-
वोट चोरी पे भी Supreme Court को बोलने दो.
I would love to do
agree.
this all day.
पर हमें भी corrupt मत बोलो यार, फिर problem हो जाती है.
थोड़ी करप्ट तो जो है उसको बोल रहे हैं यार.
No. I'm saying no. I'll
Oh,
tell you
man.
what, right? Let me get to this from a slightly different perspective, right?
Can you answer with the context also of Nepal
no,
and what's
exactly.
going on?
I don't think no. Yes, the electoral machinery is perfect is the right answer either, right? I
Yeah.
think across governments,
Yeah.
India's electoral process has had deficiencies. Whether that was ballot stuffing that happened across various governments, which is why we introduced EVMs in the first place, whether that is a duplication of voter names on voter lists, or whether that's duplicate voting by a single voter across multiple constituencies, right? Which is why we got indelible ink. We know that voting processes are flawed. There can never be a 100% perfect election, right? So what is now being demanded is an additional layer of transparency. I think on both sides, the debate has gotten polarized to an extent where you're either saying that the entire election has to be questioned, or you're saying that the entire election is perfect. Now, for something like a digitized voter list to be provided, is something that I think is a normal thing for a political party to ask. We've asked for it, because otherwise you have 7 feet stack of paper sitting in front of you, which is like giving somebody a manual phone book when they change their phone and asking them to manually copy every new number into their address book, right? You don't need to do that. So if we could find out a better way of ensuring greater transparency in the voter list, I think that would be in the benefit of everybody in a democratic country. But I think the challenge you pointed to with your Nepal question is precisely the challenge that comes to the forefront with something like vote chori, right? What happens in a digital media environment where all of us are sitting in silos and all of us are feeling like our voice is not being heard? You know, all of us are constantly agitated. We're all thinking that my issue is not important enough, my issue is not being heard enough, why is this being discussed and not that being discussed? I know Gurmehar also yelled at me for this when I did this, but you know, when the vote chori incident happened, the stray dog incident happened as well. And there were so many people being like, nahi tum kutto ke liye baat kar rahe ho, vote chori ke liye nahi baat kar rahe ho, anti-national. From the other side as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have to find some way, systemically, in a country that is this large, to figure out how do we talk to each other, right? Because otherwise, everyone is feeling left out, and everyone is feeling like they're a minority or they're minoritized, and they're sort of having their opinion taken away from them. And that's not healthy for the opposition, that's not healthy for the government, I don't think that's healthy for anybody.
Well put. And thank you for steering back to Nepal in the context of what's happened there. Do you have anything to add without getting political?
On a
Without
politics
getting party
panel,
specific.
without
No.
getting
You
political.
can be political,
God, that's
but
a tough
not
job.
party specific.
No, I think I think something about Nepal that I do have to add would be there's a lot of conversation about it, but the moment when those protests erupted and when um, all the resignations happened, it was a response to the state curbing people's freedoms. I know there was a lot of conversation, is this, are the Nepal Gen Z protests a response to corruption? Are they a response to social media being banned? But it was very simply a response to young people have strong feelings and the state has taken away their right to speak. They've taken away their platforms to speak. So I think with Nepal, there are two things that are very important that the state needs to understand and what India can learn from whatever that's happened there is that whenever young people want to speak and put their opinions out there, that there should be that it should be allowed. You cannot, for example, we've seen this in Kashmir, we've seen this in multiple places, wherever there are protests that are going to happen, suddenly the internet goes off. Or whenever there's an issue, the internet goes off. People's voices are taken away. In the 2021 IT, I'm completely forgetting the name of the bill that was being passed. A lot of it was controlling what younger people are speaking and taking away their rights. So what is important for the state to do is to make sure that young people have their voice. And what is important on the other hand for young people to do is that we need to move, like Pradeep has said and like Anish has said, move beyond the digital boundaries. We cannot just rely on reels, memes, jokes, even opinions or even TV debates that we do need to organize and we need to hold our people responsible. We need to ask for resignations whenever a situation like that arises. And I think in India, we're not doing that. We have situations where an issue will come up to the forefront, and we'll talk about it, we'll debate about it, there will be multiple narratives about it, but on ground, there is no organization by young people. I don't know if there are any civil societies working on a large scale where they're organizing around multiple issues that impact young people exclusively. So I think those are some things that we really need to work on. I think moving beyond the internet and on ground is extremely important.
Yeah, you've actually agreed with each other, which I'm very happy about also.
I
No, answer.
disagree.
I have questions.
Allow me.
Question.
I just want to ask, what is she trying to indicate? Is she trying to indicate that what happened in Nepal should happen in the country?
Let me ask you actually.
I want
on
to
this.
ask you.
No, let me ask you.
Can I say
No,
what
What are
I'm
you trying to indicate
Guys,
when you
guys.
say that youth should be mobilized? Can you just explain?
Okay,
that?
actually,
100%, I
my
don't-
question directly ties into this, which I want to ask. And if you feel like it doesn't, then we can go back to your question. You own the media company.
You are the arbitrator of this. Go ahead.
My question is that where do we draw the line when it comes to peaceful protest? And again, with context to Nepal, there were parts of it that got ugly. There were parts of it also where it was not clear whether the core group of young people who was mobilizing it was responsible for the violence or there were rogue elements. When things escalate, it's not black and white, right? It is really messy. It's a messy process to protest and get something done. We paid homage to the father of our nation who led those protests. What is the line, and is there a line? Because what's happening, say, in Ladakh, where again, one side of the media is saying peaceful protests. You mentioned that it cannot be an excuse to cause anarchy, which is fair, but what is the line? Do you have like a concrete answer as to where that line is?
See, Kevin, I have traveled across the length and the breadth of the country. I've traveled 400 constituencies, and I can tell you this with affirmation, that the youth is extremely positive, interested in the entire Indian electoral process and the entire democratic process. It votes in and votes out different politicians. That's why you have in Telangana the Congress party sitting. That's why you have in Bengal Mamata Banerjee sitting. You have we winning 3 successive elections. And in a democratic setup, which is set up by Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar, the constitution, the most legitimate way of expressing your political opinion is through a ballot. And if you believe that a government has not done correctly, you can express your ballot option in the next successive election. So if, for instance, that the Congress party's narrative is correct, you would see that result happening in one of these elections or the Bharatiya Janata Party's election. Now let us come to protest. If you go to the primacy of the Indian Constitution, the Indian Constitution gives you the right to peaceful protest. That is what 19(1)(a) say. But at the same time, there is 19(b), which says that there are reasonable restrictions. And what are those reasonable restrictions? those reasonable restrictions are to do where it should not create a law and order situation, where it should not create a situation of anarchy. Now you will ask, who's the state to decide that? Well, the state can definitely curb it, but the ultimate arbitrator of it is the Supreme Court and the courts of this country. That is where you have the courts, everybody going to the court for an anticipatory bail or a restriction order or saying that this protest should happen. So the government is not the final arbitrator to decide which is correct, which is not. But if the government has an intelligence, then the government definitely has the right to curb anarchy. And that, I'll give you an example. Delhi riots happened, remember? There were two, I would say, separatists, name, and you can Google, Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam. A large chunk of the media had painted those as poster boys of freedom of expression. What did Sharjeel Imam say? Sharjeel Imam said that he wants to take out the chicken neck from a part of the country. That is seditious in nature. If you want to take a part of the country out of it, it's seditious in nature. We arrested Sharjeel Imam. He's still under NSA, under UAPA, and he's still behind bars in the Supreme Court or any high court has not given bail. Umar Khalid, he tried to incite Delhi riots. Entire lobby of Gurmehar and the Congress ecosystem tried to stop Umar Khalid from coming out of bail. What has the court still now said? The courts have said that the case is, he will be behind bars.
The court is not hearing the bail
sorry?
plea also. They've not heard the bail plea also.
That is for the lawyers of Umar Khalid to decide. If you read Mr. Chandrachud, who was the Chief Justice, why have they asked for repeated adjournment? That is for them to decide. That is not our case out here. I'm just telling you what is the state matter right now. So the state acted. The court believed that what the state has done is correct, and that's why they are behind bars. So if the court, in many cases, for instance, with a lot of journalists you've seen, where the state has acted in excess, the courts have provided immediate anticipatory bail or immediate bail because of their freedom of expression. But a separatist element, an urban Naxal, or an individual who wants to create an anarchy, and I want to tell the youth of this country, the most legitimate way of expressing your public opinion is get into politics, be a public representative, vote a political party, whether it is us, Congress or anybody, but do not get into Rahul Gandhi's entire plan of coming on the streets, because it will be you whose future will suffer. Look around the world. Look around every country that Kevin is speaking about and see what has been the final conclusion. Has it improved that country? Has it led to a better system, whether it is Bangladesh or any other system? You will be the best judge to know.
Okay. Nepal we'll see in March when they have elections. That's the only country I mentioned, but I'll let Anish.
No, Nepal, are you justifying those who were killed?
No, not at all.
So was it a peaceful protest or a violent protest? Is Nepal better off today or better off earlier? The Gen Z did the revolution. Yeah. Who has taken charge? What is the age of the person? What is the age of the person?
So, but Gen Z has decided.
What is the age of the person?
The Gen Z has decided that
How
this
do
is
you
the
know
right
that?
person.
How do you know that?
No,
what is the age of the person?
Because of Discord democracy, we know. Because
That's
there was a poll that was done on Discord.
Are you saying that? So you are saying that?
I'm not saying. You don't have to cross
your
question
argument
me. I have no horse in this race.
No, I'm not. Yep. Your argument is that just because, say, a political party is not able to come to power, you want 1 lakh people to gather on the street, create arson, create situation, and capture power.
No, I'm not arguing.
That is what exactly was.
I was asking you where the line is. That's it. Because you also said Constitution enshrines peaceful protest.
Does not give you the right to
it says reasonable restriction.
India is the only country where there is stability, where there is growth.
Can I just add? I mean, this whole conversation's happening, and Pradeep, you're a great speaker. Anish, you're also quite lovely. But can I just say, it's so heartbreaking as a young person to sit here and have someone call out these two activists, right? Every person in India has every person. Please, I did not. Pradeep, I did not interrupt you.
How can you call a man who wants to remove the part of this country as an activist?
No. Of course, why
Please
not?
Google
Pradeep,
about it. What did Sharjeel Imam say?
Pradeep,
oh,
please.
come on. This is
exactly the difference between this and
Pradeep, we let you
I've been very politely sitting here and letting you speak. You must let me speak.
Pradeep, you can't hijack it.
It's very important. I am a young person, and
I'm also a young
No. You're a BJP. See, no. You're a BJP.
Okay, Pradeep, please.
Look, you're the BJP spokesperson. Let a young person speak. Now we
also
have the
young.
right.
I'm not old. I'm as young as you are.
It's not about you.
Being a young and justify it.
It's not about.
Who's Sharjeel Imam?
No.
Please tell me what is Sharjeel Imam.
Pradeep, please.
No,
please
Kevin.
Pradeep, we let you speak.
Kevin,
We
it's
heard
not
your
about
point.
the party. Please tell
It's
me.
not about the
What
party,
did
but
Sharjeel
she
Imam
is allowed
say?
to rebut.
I'm
She
allowed
is
to have
allowed
a
to rebut.
conversation.
Is
Young
You
people
spoke-
in this country are
Kevin, how
allowed
did
to
you
have
make
a
9
voice.
PM?
Am I allowed to have a
What?
Young
voice? I'm
people who
asking
back
the
terrorists are called
Okay, okay,
separatists.
okay.
They're not young. These are the
Pradeep,
young mainstream
you-
people out here.
I don't want to resort to muting mics. I feel like we are beyond that. We should
I
not
just-
mute mics. But when you were talking, we were silent and listening. Let her talk, and then I'll give you a chance to rebut. Thank you.
All I have to say, even with this exchange, it is so heartbreaking that you cannot have a conversation today. You can come on a wonderful panel and a wonderful show with clearly very smart people who have so much to say about this country, who have so much love for this country. I don't believe Pradeep, I don't believe Pradeep doesn't have love for this country. I don't believe Anish doesn't have love for this country. I know for a fact I deeply love this country. To be involved in politics, it is the most thankless job. It is, you will get abuses, you will get hate, that's what I've been experiencing since I've been 19. But you enter this space because you have so much love for your nation, because you have hope for it, you have dreams for it, and you want to speak for it, right? You don't come into politics because it's fun, because it's clearly not, right? So to come here, to sit on this space, to have a whole bunch of young people, and to bring the level of discourse down to मैं आपको बोलने नहीं दूंगा. Point वही आ जाता है ना, young people need to have a voice. We should be allowed to say what we have to say. Whether it's Sharjeel Imam, whether it's Umar Khalid, whether it's me, whether it's Anish, whether it's Pradeep, there has to be a certain level of discourse. There has to be a way we could put our voice forward. And this is all that this panel is about, and this is all that this country is about, right? We are saying कि अच्छा आप जाओ, आप politics में involve हो, पर ऐसा करो आप राहुल गांधी को मत, तो आप हमारे right ही ले लो ना फिर. हम क्यों, हमारे पास चॉइस नहीं है, हमारी मर्जी हम कौन सी पॉलिटिक्स में जाएंगे, ठीक है? So we should be allowed to express our love to our country and our criticisms to our country, and no one should say aap mat bolo, and no one should interrupt us, and that is all that there is, right? That is all that there is at the end of the day.
Agreed, and thank you for saying it. Anish, bring some sanity in. No pressure.
I didn't know that we were going to have a 9 p.m. debate at 10 a.m. So, I was like, I was so prepared for some nice, sweet questions about like Discord and social media, not about these topics early in the morning. But I'll tell you this, right? I think there's ways in which we have to hold various arms of our government accountable, right? And our democracy accountable. I agree with Pradeep that the courts are sort of holding space to ensure the governments do not overstep. But sometimes you have to disagree with the courts as well, right? I'll give you an example. In Mumbai, when the Maratha reservation agitation was taking place in South Mumbai, the courts put in and upheld restrictions by the Maharashtra government that were illogical, which said that the protests could only have 5,000 people, they could only take place on weekdays, and they could only take place between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Bhai, protest hai, picnic nahi hai. Like, you can't, a government coming up with these rules is not allowed to come up with these rules, right?
Yeah.
So there also needs to be an honest conversation with the government, wherein you have to know whether or not you're going to agree with lakhs of people who wanted to come to Mumbai because they were feeling left out. Should they have come to South Mumbai? Should they disrupt daily life? Different question, right? What do you do when people are dissatisfied? And the government, to their credit, came up with a solution, right? The Chief Minister himself came up with a solution to the issue. But would that solution have come about if those people had not assembled in a very peaceful way at Azad Maidan? I don't know. Who else should be given that right to assemble in those numbers? How can we have a legitimate conversation around determining how we allow protests without labeling it as anti-national or urban Nakshal, right? Because I don't think it's beneficial or productive. And I think the final thing is with something like the UAP, we opposed it now as a party as well, you cannot have a system where you are guilty unless proved innocent. Yeah. We have to have a real conversation around timeframes and timeframes that require a public prosecutor to be appointed to a case if lawyers are dealing even on the accused part, because in fact, I would say that on both sides, if Sharjeel Imam's lawyer is repeatedly seeking extensions and resulting in this case becoming something that you and I have to discuss now, it's a goddamn distraction. And I would much rather have it decided, is he guilty, is he not guilty? Put a public prosecutor there and decide. Yeah. Because we cannot be constantly distracted by these issues.
We are actually out of time.
Allow
So
me.
we can take one crowd question or I can ask you a question.
मैं बस एक चीज, यहाँ पे आपके पैनल पे
हाँ.
एक ऐसा सेपरेटिस्ट जो आतंकवादी विचारों में विश्वास रखता है, शर्जील इमाम.
You brought him up first, I want
नहीं,
to
सुनो
say
मेरी
also.
बात, एक
हाँ.
सेकंड, आप सुनो मेरी बात, मुझे भी बोलने दो. मुझे नहीं लगता कि अनीश और शर्जील इमाम एक है. मैं आखिरी में युवाओं के सामने शर्जील इमाम ने क्या बोला है वो प्ले करना चाहता हूँ. आप जज ले लीजिए कि क्या सच्चाई है क्या नहीं है. हिंदुस्तान में नॉर्थ ईस्ट को परमानेंटली हम कट कर सकते हैं. आप सब युवा हैं, ये शुगर कोटिंग बातें पे मत जाइए. अगर कोई कह रहा है कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट को हिंदुस्तान से हटा देंगे, भारत के एक अंग को हटा देंगे, क्या वो कभी राष्ट्रभक्त हो सकता है? क्या वो कभी फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन ये अलाउ कर सकता है? ये नहीं कर सकता. ये सेडिशियस है. और अनीश मेरे भाई, यूएपी है, कांग्रेस लेके आई थी, हम नहीं लेके आए थे. अगर आपको लगता है तो जाके चैलेंज करो. हम आतंकवादियों के साथ नहीं. आपको लगता है वो खराब लॉ है, आप चैलेंज करो. देश की जनता तो कई बार पर केविन, यू नीड टू कॉल अ स्पेड. शर्जील इमाम इज नॉट अ नॉर्मल यूथ एक्टिविस्ट. और अगर ये आपके लिए यूथ एक्टिविस्ट है तो फिर आप तो अफजल गुरु जिसको फांसी पे हैंग किया वो भी आपके लिए एक्टिविस्ट हो जाएगा. याकूब मेनन भी एक्टिविस्ट हो जाएगा. ये सब एक्टिविस्ट हो जाएंगे.
Basis your advice, I'll wait for the Supreme. I'll wait for the Supreme Court to tell me, sir. मुझे नहीं पता. आपने बोला कि wait for courts.
सुनो,
मुझे
आप अलाउ करोगे अगर आपके सामने कोई बोलेगा कि देश के एक अंग को हटा दें.
Sir, you said
ये
wait for.
freedom of expression नहीं है.
I am waiting for Supreme Court. You. आपने ही तो बोला है.
मैं आपसे आपके सामने ये वीडियो है. आपके सामने कोई आके यहाँ पे बोलता है कि भाई एक अंक महाराष्ट्र, एक अंक किसी को हटा देना चाहिए देश से. आप अलाउ करोगे? क्या आपके हिसाब से वो क्या है?
Sir, I have been told not to take law and order into my own hands.
नहीं, वो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर नहीं. तो आप नहीं, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मत लो.
मैं क्या
मतलब वो आपके हिसाब से सही है.
I'll walk away.
आपके हिसाब से सही है.
I'll walk away or I'll stay there.
इसी कारण तो देश की बर्बादी कांग्रेस ने 70 सालों तक करी है. यही तो कारण रहा है कि आतंकवादी
Okay. Pradeep, question for you only. Closing question. What about young people gives you hope?
No, young are extremely passionate, positive, nationalist, patriotic. They are in the development of this country. They have created more than 1 lakh startups. They are making India the 4th largest economy, $4 trillion economy. I am very proud about the young people. Certain fringe do not define the young people. They are the person who are defining it. They are 100% with the Constitution of India.
Thank you. Anish?
What gives me hope is that young people are angrier than they've ever been before and they're demanding change. And I'm glad because for too long, as a young person in politics, I have been told that I'm not allowed to be angry. And I'm angry at the past 70 years as well. I'm angry at my governments as well. I'm angry at my previous party leaders as well, and they'll be seeing this and now I'm going to get pulled up. But I'm angry because I don't think we went as far in 70 years as we should have. But that does not mean that we can't go further, and that does not mean we accept everything for what it is. We're angry that the metro gets flooded. We're angry that the monorail doesn't work. I'm angry that it took me this long on SV Road at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I am glad that everyone is angry with me.
Thank you. Gurmehar?
What about young people gives me hope? I think a lot of young people are so much more political and politically engaged. The fact that it's 10 a.m. on a Saturday and the stadium and the auditorium is already full, I think that gives me hope that people want to be engaged. Like, people want to be engaged in the political and electoral process, which I don't think was the case with the previous generations. I think that is incredible, and I hope more and more young people get involved in active politics because that's what we need right now.
Thank you. Can we have a huge round of applause for our panel?